And then, um, no, okay. So, and then, the data you get or the information you get, I mean, over the summer, then do you take a look at what you need to change if you're going to change curriculum or something like that?
Well, right now we're going to be doing a review of our curriculum.
Yeah.
So that's our first step. So we're going to do a current state and do a review of our curriculum and see where any gap, that's the gap analysis, right? And then we'll also be doing that equity audit of our curriculum to see where we sit with that.
Okay.
We need to make changes, make adjustments. If anybody's up in the literacy world, there's articles coming out of the science, the science aspect of things. What do we need to beef up? What, if there's some tweaks and changes that we need to make to it.
Okay.
Is this an annual process? Or, I mean, are we making it special this year because
Nope.
there were changes?
It's not an annual process necessarily for ELA, the curriculum review cycle.
Yeah.
Last year we did world language. So we did that presentation on world language last year. So this year we have ELA. So I'm not quite sure the previous person, I'm not sure how that worked before, but we're kind of running it.
I just care that you're in charge of it and that, we're doing it and that we have a plan to go forward to it because we need that consistency. And
Yeah.
we talked about that before. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious, but it's just good to have that plan and that outline on how to review stuff.
Yeah. And if you're interested in seeing like our agendas and, planning stuff, I'm more than happy to share that with you.
What's really interesting too is that the curriculum review process has a lot of pieces that mirror a strategic planning process.
Yep.
Where you start with like,
what it
where
is.
are we? What's our present state? What are our gaps? What are our needs? And you start, so it's a pretty solid process, that can be used with a lot of school improvement things.
And I must say our process was put on DPI and is utilized by other districts.
Nice.
So we have a solid process.
Okay. That's
Anything
good to
else?
hear.
Sorry.
Oh, no, nothing else.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to 2F, student device procedures.
Okay. Technology director. So we are making some shifts with how we utilize our devices at the middle school. So we are going to be moving to a 1-to-1 for devices. So what that means is that students will be able to, they were able to do it this last year, bring their devices back and forth, but past practice has been is the devices stayed at school. We're going to be shifting 4th through 8th grade that the devices will be going to and from school. And we're going to keep Parkway how it has been, where all devices stay at Parkway, they're not going home. So this will be our first year of going 4th through 8th grade with devices going back and forth to school. I created a 1-to-1 handbook based off of Nicolet's handbook. I felt it was important to really lean on some of the work that Nicolet did, just so our families aren't, all of a sudden we have a Glendale-River Hills handbook and then it's totally different at Nicolet. So we wanted to really kind of streamline things and make sure that families have their first experience here in Glendale, and then they're building on that with Nicolet. So it was really mirrored a lot of the items in there, mirror what Nicolet is doing in their 1-to-1 processes. So, and that should have been part of the registration packet as well, the 1-to-1 handbook.
Jenica, am I wrong? But did we also talk about the devices traveling with the students until?
Oh, we are going to start a shift. This is the start of the shift, is our 4th grade students will receive, and this is a separate information that's going to go home because I felt like it might be too confusing because it's only really addressing one grade level. So our 4th grade students, what Nicolet does is their freshmen get a brand new device. They keep that same device all their years, and then they keep it after that, right? Then it's their device. So really students take better care of a device that they know it's theirs a lot of times than just being able to pull any old device. So with our 4th grade students, we're going to have them keep that throughout their entire career. at Glendale-River Hills, and then they'll be able to keep the device afterwards. We really can't do a lot of updates and all of that after 5 years of a Chromebook anyways. So that would be part of our process going through that. Those fourth graders will get the new devices and then they'll work their way through up till 8th grade, then they keep it, and then they'll end up getting a new device at Nicolay. If that makes
Sorry, I
sense.
jumped the gun on
Yeah, that
that.
makes sense.
But our current 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders will not be getting a new device. The cycle's gonna start just with 4th grade, and then we're, you know what I mean, we'll start building it up. We can't afford to do
Right.
that.
Yeah, cycle it somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of school districts do this. Yeah.
So that's the plan.
Great.
Good plan.
And then there also will be insurance, and that's all broken out in there.
Oh, yeah. Will you guys be collecting the Chromebooks at the start of the summer to do the updates then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, it's all in there,
Yeah. Okay.
all in the plan. So it's all in the handbook of how we're going to be returning. If there is an issue with your device, what to do, cords, all those pieces, broken screens, all of that is kind of covered within the document.
Okay. Good.
And just safety, accessible use, all those pieces, that
Mhm.
that kids like to.
Recording in progress.
Any
All
other
right. Anything
tech
else?
questions? Oh, one final thing.
Oh.
Hey, the boards are coming in tomorrow. So I'm so excited for the classroom teachers. So we're
Okay.
thrilled about that.
Yeah, that's
Great.
good.
That's all.
Okay.
All right. So then let's move on to sports and clubs, item 2G.
So I know that you asked for this to be added, Ben. I'm assuming that it's just, were you just talking to basically around COVID, like what the
I
plan is?
just put it in, or I wanted to put it in because I just wanted, like, I don't know, official, where so are sports and clubs being offered this year?
So what I saw today, and here's the really nice thing when you talk about this summer versus last summer, there's a really strong alignment between the guidance we're getting from everywhere versus last summer. I felt like it was really disjointed and we were waiting on different places to take a stance. So at this point, we've got, CDC, DHS, DPI, the state superintendent just emailed all of us today. And they did specifically talk about sports, and really they just aligned it with the CDC guidance. So what we talked about last time. So if it's basketball and you're inside, you're masked up. And then of course we would have some sort of a plan for, how many guests can come to watch a game and like social distancing and all those pieces. And then their guidance for outside was more mask optional for outdoor sports. For me, totally comfortable with that. It's just stays in alignment with everything else. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, no,
as far as that.
it makes sense. I mean, so I follow the WIAA, and I don't, so it's going to be a little bit different, but I think, as long as we're offering them, that's the important thing. So I'm glad that we're planning on doing basketball, with that's what they did last year in high school, was the kids wore masks while playing basketball. Now, of course, you probably want a surgical mask for that, not a cloth one, but just because, so
my previous district, they did masks for basketball, for volleyball. I'm trying to think if there was a floor hockey, you know what I mean? And the kids really were fine.
No.
The kids really were, I don't know.
No, so obviously not when they're swimming, but
Yeah.
I did
They did a great job. Yeah.
So I do want to ask just point out a couple of things. I mean, first off, our board actually, and so I don't know what needs to be done, but I think that we need to have the board kind of formally,
Absolutely.
yay or nay on the extracurriculars. But I'm a little bit concerned with the Delta COVID variant because, obviously, it's quite a bit unpredictable, and I don't know what the consequences are. And if there's a way to do even indoor activities masked up safely, I guess I'm frankly, I'm more okay with exploring those things for a couple of reasons. One is I would hope that, it's older kids would be more likely to be vaccinated. But I guess one question I have is, and we're talking about the possibility of, I don't know, how to identify, I guess, optional, vaccination, but it might be nice if, we could, and because extracurriculars are optional. And by the way, also open people aren't, members of the school community technically, although I don't know, we have a lot of community participants in extracurriculars, but it would be nice if we could collect information on whether or not someone participating in extracurricular has been vaccinated. And look, that's not for decision now, but it is, one question if we can do that. I would like to make these things as safe as possible. And I'm not saying yes or no one way or the other, this way. I mean, I would like to open things up more, certainly, outdoor activities. I think regardless, we've got to do what we can to open those up. And I think that if we can make indoor activities safe and under certain restrictions, I think, there's some benefit to doing that. We also have to at some point address whether or not we're going to let Nicolay in. And that was an issue that we had to deal with last year that was muddled through because it wasn't clear. So just to kind of anticipate it, right? Nicolay hasn't always been 100% clear in communicating with facilities and grounds what their intentions were. And they really wanted to use our facilities for basketball and some other extracurriculars, swimming and so forth, throughout the school year. And frankly, there were discussions that the board was not privy to about those things that weren't Nicolay's fault. I don't really want to say it was anyone's fault, but it was a little bit confusing, and we ended up not letting them do certain activities like basketball and other things in the building because, of course, we weren't doing any of those things. But also swimming, we did allow, which had been going on actually, I think, without formally the board knowing about it. But the bottom line is Nicolay's going to want to, be able to use the facilities. We're going to get some community pressure, to open up the facilities. So we're going to have to address that.
Yeah, we met with Nicolay this week, so we kind of started that conversation. I agree with you. Like this is a nice conversation to start to see where we're all sitting, but definitely would have to go to the full board. And I could do some research before the board meeting to determine, because I think you could be right. Since it's an extracurricular, we may have more flexibility around asking those questions and determining who is vaccinated that's participating, staff and students. So I'll definitely do some research on that to see kind of what our parameters are around that piece prior to, the August board meeting, so that we have that information.
That's good. I mean, I don't know if we want to mandate vaccination necessarily. And look, I know how many athletic activities involve kids under the age of 12 anyways. I mean, I for the life of me, I can't think that most of the stuff is sixth grade, or younger. It's mostly seventh and eighth grade. Right. Although I would imagine stuff like cross country. I think cross country is open to more people, to sixth grade. I just don't recall offhand. So,
which is interesting because I feel like cross country is much safer. You know what I mean? So there are so many things to look at probably for each individual activity. We could have slightly different parameters.
Yeah, I agree. And so I don't know how much, how much thought and attention goes into it. I don't know, how much detail goes into it, but it's a deceptively simple thing, right? Yeah. But hopefully, we can kind of prioritize this by the seasons, right, of activities that are coming up. So like whatever's coming up the soonest, let's, get going on that first.
Yep. Agree.
Yeah, that'd be cross country, but then also clubs. But I feel like that's the same thing as just the regular school day. So like if there's a forensics club or it's Oh yeah, forensics is another one. That's not on agenda for today. But but in terms of continuing those things, I just found out and I was so upset about it. Apparently there was virtual forensics last year that some schools were able to participate in, and we didn't have forensics at all. And I'm a huge forensics nut. So I think it's water under the bridge and all that. But I think that our goal should be to try to, move towards opening up what we can. That's my general inclination. I want us to be safe. I want to do it safely. There's no promises, but I'd like to do it and with an eye towards, opening things up
and hopefully being able to encourage people to be vaccinated, not just, socially distant masks.
I agree. I mean, there's a reason that all of the guidance also talks about the importance of being in person. That would be the same reason it's important to have clubs and have sports and all those other social pieces. It's just making sure we do it as safely as we possibly can.
Yeah, so do we need to put this on the agenda for the full board? Like, do we have to make a motion, or can we just put it on the,
We can just put it on. We can
Okay,
just
put it on.
decide that we want to put it on.
so are we
Yeah.
gonna just put cross country on, or are we gonna just do all sports and all clubs?
I would put everything on. I mean,
Yeah, that's okay, yeah,
only because look, I mean, yeah, let Alice, let Ms. Ice and company come up with a recommendation on how to proceed and just keep it general. That's my thought. And my hope is just kind of prioritize, the events.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think if we bring it generally, Ben, then we just talk about like, so here's the process, how we're going to make a decision. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? For each club, and then we'll have a set parameter so that when we get to different sports,
Yeah,
we've got like a checklist or a process that we're gonna just use.
yeah, no, that's totally
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
And don't have it go back to the board all the time either. I mean, because I think also, and this is the thing, it's curriculum, but it's also facilities and grounds. And so I don't know what Mr. Beckman's role in this is, but,
Yeah,
certainly someone can be given the, authority, to delegate, those decisions.
Yeah.
Delegate the authority to make those decisions, I should say.
bringing up facilities though, I think it would be a good idea to put the Nicolay piece on the next facility meeting so that we can start that conversation.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, Bumpus.
No, all right, so then 3A, visitor participation. No visitor participation. Okay, so then I guess that's it. So is there?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, all right, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and we're adjourned.
Awesome.
meeting.
Thanks, guys.
Good
Thanks,
night,
everyone.
everyone. Take
And then,
care.
yep, see you.
Bye now.